The quality of our workforce directly impacts the success of our companies, our industries, and the state's economy. Governor Lamont and I have heard from countless businesses across industries about the importance of strengthening our talent pipelines. Connecticut has long been home to one of the most productive and highly educated workforces in the country. But we know there is much work to be done to meet business demand and for Connecticut to remain a leader in a rapidly changing and competitive global economy. That is why we are here today to announce an exciting new initiative that will meaningfully benefit our state, its residents, and the businesses that call Connecticut home. To make the announcement, I'd like to introduce Governor Ned Lamont. Through his leadership, we are taking a very different approach to economic development. He has placed great emphasis on public-private partnerships and is a passionate advocate for new business models like the one we are going to announce today. He does so with one goal in mind: to ensure our companies and our workforce are at their competitive best. Governor?
Well, good morning, everybody. And President Daisy, thank you for inviting me to your Naugatuck Community College.
So honored.
You guys have done incredible things. You just told me that you just won the award for one of the best manufacturing centers training, top 10 in the country. Every single one of your kids gets a job. Your nursing program, really, again, top 10. Every single person with a job. Top 5%, don't want to sell you short. Maybe some of the folks over there know what this is. And, you know, when I was running for governor, I said there are three things we got to do to get this state growing again, to get this state really moving again. That was A, getting our fiscal house in order, B, fixing our transportation system, and C, and most importantly, workforce development. And let me tell you what I meant by that. I mean, right now, you look around the world, there's a global search for talent. And we have tens of thousands of jobs in this state that we're having a hard time filling. And we got some of the most amazing students in the world. And if we train these people for the jobs that are out there, we get our economy going, we give these kids an extraordinary opportunity, and businesses know they grow and expand right here in Connecticut. We're thinking, what are the best ways we can build on all the good things that we're doing right now? And we are doing some good things in workforce development. Look what we got going right here. Look what we got a mayor over in a career academy where you and I visited some time ago, where each and every one of those kids graduate, either with a job or going on to higher education. 99%, it's extraordinary what you've accomplished there. So what I wanted to do today is announce the Governor's Workforce Council. And you know anything about this administration, you get a sense of where we're coming from on the Workforce Council. It will be another public-private partnership. We have many of our leading businesses are going to be represented on the council. I want the businesses interfacing with our schools, interfacing with Marco Jakin, our community colleges, making sure that we are training people for the jobs that are out there right now. And we have businesses large and small. You know, we have Kevin Graney from Electric Vote, Jim Laurie from Stanley Black & Decker, representing a lot of the largest manufacturers out there. And for them, sometimes it's easier to train for the bigger scales. Sometimes it's tougher to train for some of those smaller businesses. So we have representatives from Sound Manufacturing here. Cindy Bigelow from Bigelow Tea, I think is going to be saying something today. Oni from Eventry, some of the small businesses and startups. And what are the types of job training they need? And how can we better integrate to what they're trying to do? We have the wind to our back as a state when it comes to data and media and fintech. And those folks are going to be represented on this as well. NBC Sports, Synchrony, Infosys. Remember my friends from Infosys? They provide job training in data skills, in computer science. Headquartered right, the big branch up in Hartford, looking at other parts of the state where they can continue to make sure that our manufacturing and our employers have access to the very best computer-savvy workers in the world. Chris Swift from the Hartford and Dave O'Neill from Indeed. You know what Indeed is, don't you? Indeed is probably the world's largest job site. And he is the COO there, is going to be also serving on our council. Let me tell you what the information they have. They know every job here in the state of Connecticut. They know how long it takes to fill that job. They know the skills necessary to do it. He'll be bringing some of those analytics to what we've got to do. Life science and healthcare, another place where our state has the real wind to our back. And it's everything from scientists to nurses. We have an extraordinary shortage. We've got the silver tsunami going on. So anybody here thinking about that as a profession, I guarantee you, you're one of the best places in the world, and there is a job right here in Connecticut waiting for each and every one of you. These are the folks that are going to be part of the Governor's Council. And along the way, we've also got the folks who will help administer those programs and be able to speak up. We got from the not-for-profit community, ABCD and the Hartford Foundation. We have the universities that are going to be well represented. We got Peter Salovey from Yale and Judy from Quinnipiac. And by the way, so that the universities have a better sense from the employers, what are the jobs they should be training for? What should they be thinking about? On Monday, I should tell you that about the governor's residence, we're going to have representatives, I think, Mark, from 20 of our different colleges and universities there, at least that many, plus a similar number of folks from the business sector. Get them start talking to each other. Talk about the type of programs and learning you need. And Daisy, as you remind me, job training is also not just about the skills, but it can be about music and the arts and other ways that we inspire young people, and that's part of what we're trying to do. It just reminds me further that, Tony Walker is here and Tony Wong is going to be here. Tony, as you know, was on our transition committee. She works in workforce, runs a job training center. Tony, appreciate your being here as well. Tony is, he's on the university committee up there at the state senate, so it helps us integrate what we got to do. And what do we have to do? I mean, as I looked about this with friends on my team, one of the things I found talking to Kurt Westby is we have a lot of different buckets that are all doing workforce development in different pieces there. Of course, we got the Department of Labor really takes the lead on what we're doing right now with Kurt and Dante and the workforce development boards. But in addition, there's out of Department of Social Services, there's TANF and there's SNAP, the bands formerly known as welfare and food stamps. And welfare to work meant job training. So we got to do a better job of making sure they're integrated in what we got to do, because sometimes it's not simply about training, it's also making sure we're taking care of that whole person, making sure that if there's problems in the family, if there's problems with addiction, we help them get back on their feet. That's why DEMIS and DDS for folks with disabilities, that's part of our job training as well, as we get those people able to participate in the workforce. DOT, you may say, well, how is DOT integrated in what we're trying to do in workforce development? Well, they have UPass, and they work very hard to make sure that folks who are going through training can actually get to that job and get to their job training. And we do that on a very discounted basis. These are the different programs we're trying to integrate as we put together. And finally, I don't want to forget about Department of Corrections. Another important job training effort for us, and make sure that each and every one of those folks, when they get out of the correctional facility and come back into their hometowns, they're trained for a job. We provide all the social services that we need. We need all these people. We need them. This is a population that's not growing very fast. And I can guarantee our employers want folks who are trained and ready to go. And to help lead this effort, a public-private partnership, I've got a great friend of mine who is the epitome of public-private. His name is Garrett Moran. Garrett's been one of my great friends for a long time. Along with Tony, he helped lead our transition. He spent much of his career in business and finance. He also spent 6 years as president of Year Up. Year Up is a program that took kids who had fallen behind or had fallen out. And over many years, they have trained tens of thousands of these kids, mainly in technical skills, and got them placed in some of the largest companies in our state and in our country. And he's ideally suited to help We got all these great instruments that are out there playing their own music, get them all playing off the same music sheet, making sure we're rowing in the same direction and singing in harmony. And without further ado, I'd really like to introduce you to my friend Garrett Moran, who will be chairman of the Governor's Workforce Council.
Good luck, sir. Good morning, everybody. First, let me thank President DeFilippis and Mayor O'Leary for the warm welcome here in Waterbury. Great to be here. And thank you, Governor Lamont, and all of our legislative leaders who helped get this teed up so that we're ready to announce it today, as well as everybody in the General Assembly. This is going to be a team activity, and we need a lot of people of goodwill rowing in the same direction. Happily, workforce is typically a very nonpartisan, hard work type of pursuit, so hopefully my words will be, I can live with my words a year from now. I will say for the first month, we agreed to get to work about a month ago with the governor, and I've been running around meeting all the commissioners in Hartford and the environs. And to my delight, we've got a group of really smart, focused people who are really get workforce. I've been consistently impressed with the level of sophistication and enthusiasm for getting ourselves together and weaving a strategy that's going to help us move forward. When I finished high school, 3/4 of the job in the United States could be had with a high school degree or less. Today, that's about a third. The other third are for people with 4-year degrees, and then the middle third is middle skills, and that has come from nowhere to be a huge part of the economy. Those are the jobs that require certificates, more than high school, less than college, associate's degrees, et cetera. And to a significant extent, that defines the challenge and the opportunity for our economy in the country, but also in Connecticut. Getting our arms around that and training our young people and those who have been dislocated will be one of the defining missions of the governor's workforce initiative. At the same time, the pace of change driven by technology continues unabated. We will all have to be continuous learners in our lives. It's particularly important for those of us who are trying to get into the mainstream. Everyone needs to learn how to learn, starting in kindergarten and continuing throughout their lives. An important corollary of that is that as a society, if we don't devise good ways for people to get into a life of good lifelong learning, we will have failed because they will be sidetracked and they will be out of the mainstream. And in a state like Connecticut, with a relatively static population, we will not have the vitality that we need. So we need to figure out how to reach down and help up. One of the things I learned in my nonprofit work in workforce is that there is a giant reservoir of talent and ambition among people who just haven't had a shot. So we can do, if we put our arms, lock arms, we can do a lot to bring people into the mainstream and to untap that talent that is so important and compelling. Our education system has sort of struggled to keep up with this, not surprisingly, with the pace of change and so forth. Too often today, we are sending a signal to our young people that the only way to be successful is to get a 4-year degree. The reality is that is a absolutely wonderful way to get to the top of society, but there are also today many excellent pathways that people can get onto with shorter duration, lower cost credentials. We've got to support those who want to get into that. The employers in the room are crying out for that. They know exactly how to put those people to work immediately. So we've got to shine a light on that and provide people a way to get on board. There's good news in all this. There's no mystery about how to do this work. We have some sensational examples. We're sitting in one right today of how to do it. It's on us to shine a light on those who are doing it well and scale it and grow it. Rarely have the interests of business and the disconnected been more aligned. We can quickly get people in the loop and working in a way that will accrue to the benefit of business and obviously light up our neighborhoods. The second good piece of good news is that because we're at this point of unprecedented demand for workers, we're at a moment when we can lift all these folks up very quickly and readily. It's on us to partner effectively and to get that done. The government isn't rich enough to do all this. This is an initiative that has to be led by business. Government is your partner, as are educators, nonprofits, community-based organizations. But that's the challenge, is building a plan, getting everyone involved, defining goals, aligning ourselves, and getting after it. We have to find Connecticut solutions for these problems, but it can be done. The work of the council will be to lead the creation of a comprehensive plan within a year, which is a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that needs to be aligned. We need to create strong data systems. We need to set goals. We need to hold each other accountable. We need to embarrass ourselves if we don't meet those goals. I'm sure we can do it. The governor will lead a listening tour in the next several months to hear from everybody, to get input as we forge ahead on making this plan, and I'm sure we'll meet many of you a couple of times during those several months. Anyway, thank you for the introduction.
Thank you, Garrett. As Garrett just mentioned and the governor noted earlier, the private sector is going to be a big part of this council. There's roughly 13 CEOs, presidents, business leaders around the state, and we're fortunate to have one of them here with us today. I'd like to ask Cindy Bigelow to come up. She is a third-generation president and CEO of Bigelow Tea, which is headquartered in Fairfield. It's a business that employs 350 people. I believe they have 450 people? 400 people, sorry. I didn't mean to get that wrong there. 3 manufacturing facilities, 1.7 billion tea bags annually, 2 billion now, so these are yesterday's numbers apparently. But Cindy's an active member of our community, and we're thrilled to have her serve on the board. Yes, that's right.
Garrett's a very tall man, and I'm a very small woman. So we're going to just lower those a little bit. So they asked me to say something last night, so I didn't really prepare anything, just a few thoughts to share with you. First and foremost, I really mean this. I want to thank everyone in this room for what they do for our state. There are some people that have dedicated their careers and their career right now to really making our state better, and I think we really all need to take time to appreciate that. Yes, sometimes they're on different sides. Often they're on different sides, but it's really about all trying to have the state first. So we've been in the state for 50 years, over 50 years. My grandmother started us, and I love this state of Connecticut. Is it perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. But we really do have such a wonderful message to give. And so when I was asked to serve on this committee with some pretty amazing people, and I will tell you it's a little intimidating, but it is so true because we have been in the state a long time and we are having a hard time getting the people that we need. We have great people, but it's very competitive to get the right people to work at Bigelow. I think we're sort of that sweet spot that Garrett was talking about where it's not necessarily advanced manufacturing. So if I can represent the businesses that are more that medium-sized, smaller businesses, we have 400 families that work for us, 200 in this state, then you know what? I have to put my money where my mouth is, and I need to join in and really give everything that I can to try to do that alignment that the governor is asking about. How do we align these students going through different schools to be able to work for Bigelow, work for other companies, and be prepared for what our needs are? So I'm really excited to learn, I'm really excited to work, and I'm really excited to give everything that I can to a state that I passionately, passionately love, and I want to thank you for including me on this amazing committee.
Our next speaker is going to be Dr. Monette Ferguson. She's the Executive Director of Action for Bridgeport Community Development, Inc., an anti-poverty nonprofit serving several towns in the Bridgeport region. The organization serves over 35,000 individuals annually and provides a wide range of services to its clients, including employment and training services. She's going to be a very important voice to the council, and I'd invite her to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am honored to represent community action at its best in the state of Connecticut. Myself and my colleagues in our Community Action Network touch thousands of the most vulnerable individuals in our state every single day and provide life-changing resources that can start with employment. And we know that we have a voice at this table because I'm here, and I will ensure that the most vulnerable individuals of this state always get a voice when it comes to doing better and bringing this great state to the capacity of excellence that we deserve. Thank you.
OJ, that's going to be a tough act for you to follow here, by the way. So I'd like Margot Jakian to come up, who's been the president of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities System since 2015. He's been a tireless advocate for education and workforce issues in the state. Mark, please come on up and say a few words.
Thank you, David. I always get the hard acts to follow, but I'll just try to do my best. First, thank you very much to the governor, not only for being here today, but for including us as part of his greater team. I think, as he pointed out, as did Garrett, nobody can do this alone. Public and private need to come together. All of the public entities that work very hard on workforce and education need a strategic direction so that we can all be on the same page. As I look at all of the students we have in this room, it is quite humbling once again to be in their presence. I will just tell you that our community colleges in Connecticut do an incredible job of providing opportunities for the state of Connecticut. Whether you're It's about access, it's about opportunity, it's about helping students fulfill their dreams, whether it's a certificate program or whether it's getting an associate's degree and going on to a 4-year degree and ultimately your master's. It's about those opportunities that everybody, regardless of where you came from or where you're going, has in this great state of Connecticut. To my partner in crime, President Daisy, thank you for your unbelievable advocacy on behalf of our students. She reminded all of us today that it's not only about manufacturing and workforce, it's about providing a heart to all the students we teach and providing students with art and music and other of those skills that help people become better citizens of the state of Connecticut. So we are very excited to be part of the team. Our colleges are excited to be part of the team, and I can assure you, with the incredible faculty and staff we have on our campuses and the great leadership, we will help lead this team to victory. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mark. Next up is Beth Bai, Commissioner of the Office of Early Childhood, long been a tireless advocate as well for both education and the well-being of our children. Beth, please.
I'm so happy to be here, Governor Lamont. Thank you. Today we celebrate one of Connecticut's greatest strengths, our workforce. We're also here to embrace change and to think about ways that we can improve things for the future. Policies that we employ either block or unlock the potential of our residents. What we're here to do today is unlock the potential of Connecticut's workforce. The governor is saying, I believe in you. And with the appointment of Garrett Moran, as many in this room know, the governor is also addressing one of his cross-cutting themes, that is collaboration and hard work. Garrett has already been talking to people across the state before he even got started. I just want to give a couple of examples of sort of collaborative workforce efforts going on across state government and with communities and businesses. At the Office of Early Childhood, we right now have a pilot going with Bristol Adult Ed, that is Bristol Manufacturing. It's supporting Rolling, Spring and Stamp. The Office of Early Childhood is providing childcare while these young people, or old, sometimes they're more middle-aged, attend workforce training for that. And 80% of those participants are women. That's not what the usual manufacturing place looks like, but when you provide childcare when they're in class, that's what happens. And it's just started this year, yeah. And in very short order, 40% of those people have full-time jobs with benefits, and this program has a 77% job placement rate, so the rest of them will have jobs soon. And then President Ojakian, you're such a great collaborator. As we're sitting here today, our staff are finalizing an MOU that will work with DSS across state agencies to give 100 families childcare while they're attending pipeline workforce projects. That's what we need to do. DSS wisely is investing at SNAP education and training programs with people like Daisy and you, and believing in these students and giving them an entry into college while they also get a certificate where they can get a job. And with this program, as Daisy was telling the governor about SNAP, we get 50% of the dollars back from the federal government. So we're maximizing federal dollars. So just to say that we need more of this, Governor Lamont is very strong on us reaching across agencies, working with local businesses and local communities to maximize the potential of the humans. And as Office of Early Childhood, I know there's nothing better for a family than a parent that has a job that pays a living wage where there's a ladder to success. And today, it's about a ladder for success for Connecticut families. Thank you, Governor Lamont.
Thank you, Beth. That was great. I'd like to call up Dr. MIGUEL Cardona, who is the Commissioner of Education, just named it in August. Prior to that, Dr. Cardona was the Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning in Meriden. We're thrilled that you can be here and share your perspective on the council.
Thank you. So glad to be here. So glad to be here. Thank you. This is a great reminder that it still takes a village to raise a child. There's been a great deal of attention placed on workforce needs in our state. And as Education Commissioner, it's my belief that the K-12 system is poised to embrace this opportunity to help prepare students for the careers that exist today. Our technical schools do a great job addressing some of the need, but we know that the demand requires comprehensive high schools to also be a part of this process moving forward. Evolving our programs to offer more pathways to rewarding careers is not only prudent, but our responsibility. College and career pathways are not mutually exclusive. Many students who explore careers seek post-secondary education or training to further their skills, while others who are singularly focused on college will benefit from gaining exposure to potential careers. Furthermore, one pathway is no less rigorous than the other. Much of the academic prerequisites are the same, while their unique requirements are equally demanding and engaging. Ultimately, regardless of a student's path, our goal is to equip all students with lucrative options for success and happiness in their lives beyond high school. A strong public education system can be the greatest economic driver in Connecticut. I stand committed to the Governor's Workforce Council, and I'm excited to partner with colleagues to provide great opportunities for our students. This task force will help us lead the nation. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Miguel. I'd like to ask Jay Williams to come on up. Jay has been the president of the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving since 2017, and prior to that, he served as U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Economic Development. He's obviously a wealth of knowledge on many issues as it relates to workforce readiness, and we're thrilled that he's also going to serve on the council. Jay?
Thank you, David, and thank you to the governor and his team for allowing the voice of philanthropy to be represented on this commission. I can tell you that as a small state, Connecticut is blessed with a wealth of philanthropic individuals and organizations. And recently, I, along with probably 6 to 8 of the other community foundation CEOs, have been convening and conversing about how we can bring the resources of creativity, flexibility, and innovation, in addition to the financial resources we have, how we can bring them to bear on helping the state be more competitive. So I'm excited of the fact that I can bring that perspective that is shared amongst a broad array of community foundations. I can tell you that in my previous capacity as a mayor, I have seen how philanthropy can come together to help bolster the workforce outputs and results that we're all seeking. In my capacity in Washington, D.C. at the federal level, philanthropy always played an important role. So again, thank you all for convening here and eager to work with the CEOs and all of those who are represented here to ultimately put the state in the most competitive place we can with respect to workforce. Thank you.
So Kurt Westby, please come on up. So Kurt, as the Commissioner of the Department of Labor, Kurt is no stranger to workforce and the importance of retraining and apprenticeships in the various programs. So Kurt, thrilled you're going to serve on the board with everyone.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Governor. And thanks, Garrett Moran. I mean, he's just been a tremendous leader in guiding the selection of the folks for this committee, and basically he's talked with everyone, and we're really blessed to have a person in Garrett. We really need that here in Connecticut. Let me identify just a couple problems. Things you already know, but I'll state them. Lagging job growth. in the state of Connecticut. This isn't just in our region compared to other states, but we lag in job growth for the whole country. Problem two, growing inequality. Several people have already talked about it, but the problem of folks working 2-3 jobs, 40, 60 hours, no benefits, that's a growing cadre of folks that really have issues with meeting their ends in terms of income, and it spills over into other issues as well. However, we have problem number 3, unfilled middle-skilled jobs. Healthcare, advanced manufacturing, for example, have thousands of middle-skilled jobs that are unmet today. And I know Mark knows that. I know MIGUEL knows that. And I think everyone understands that. We have tremendous institutions to deal with that, but it's just not enough. And I think the Governor's Workforce Council is going to help us figure that out. We don't have time not to address that issue today. DOL connects workers with employers through workplace learning, credentialing, often in the form of apprenticeships. Starting in high school or the local community college, students learn skills and establish a connection with an employer where they eventually become employed debt-free. DOL promotes larger scale so-called pipeline solutions with our Workforce Development Board partners in Montville, New Haven, Waterbury, Hartford, and Bridgeport, also utilizing the apprenticeship model. These workforce investments have paid off with thousands of good jobs. Pipelines are one answer, and we're very bullish on pipelines, but more solutions really do need to be found. The Governor's Workforce Council is set to take a fresh, critical, comprehensive, empirical, data-driven look at our entire workforce system and plan out our future, not just manufacturing. It's going to be the Governor's vision that will skill up our discouraged, our underemployed workers, and place them solidly into the middle class. That grows the economy, and that meets employer needs, and that's a win-win situation for all. Thank you very much.
All right, we're almost there. I'd like to invite Representative Tony Walker to come on up. You need no introduction, so everyone knows you all.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. First of all, I want to thank the Governor. Over a year and a half ago, you came to New Haven and sat down and talked to me and gave me your vision. And your vision was, I bring the business. I want the business to be part of what we do in this state, and that's been the missing part. And I thank you for keeping that promise that you made to me then, and for the people of Connecticut. And I thank Mark Ojakian for being one of your true captains in trying to make that pledge continue. This is a great opportunity, and I think Kurt really summed up the big problems that we have been experiencing for several years now. We have to make sure that people understand that we are open for business. We are just trying to get all of the people around the table that are going to make it opportunity for everyone. This is a great chance for us to actually look at kids all the way through college to seniors, because they are all part of this equation. I'll give you one experience that I had. In high school, I actually had a summer job at 16 at the then SNET. And that was my introduction to corporate employment. And that gave me exposure that I will never, ever be able to regain. That exposure helped me to understand what it was to work. That is what we need to do here, through high school, through college, through opportunities for early childhood, making sure that people have a livable wage, and making sure community action agencies, I like that one, that was even really, that made me feel proud. So today we are on a great trip, and I'm so excited about being part of this, and I have Bigelow teas everywhere in my house. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Walker. We're thrilled you're serving. So, Governor Lamont, do you want to say a few closing words, then we'll sign the executive order and take some questions?
Well, I think you should feel a little more confident that we're going to give our kids the very, very best opportunities going forward. And I think the business community should know that we're doing everything we can to make sure we're training people for the best jobs out there. With that, let's sign the executive order.
We have everyone come up behind the governor.
Come up and stand behind the governor.
Thank you.
Well done, everybody.
Happy to take a few questions if there are any.
Yes, Governor. There's only 2 labor leaders listed on this council, and your release says more members may be added to it. So exactly, do you have any more plans to bring more people from labor into this discussion?
Well, we got Juan and Sal are officially members of the council. It's an example of the fact that we got to make sure we're training people for the trades. And by the way, we're going to have well over 10,000 state employees retiring over the next 3-4 years. And Sal's going to be at the table as well, helping us think about the type of job skills we need in state government as well as municipal government. And as Garrett, go ahead.
I just wanted to add on who's going to be involved and at the table. I think the way most boards work, and this will work, we'll divide the work into committees. The committees will call others in to help them advance the agenda. So if we have 5 people from the board on a committee, they will typically call in a few others who are experts. So for example, if we're working on a trades apprenticeship initiative, it would be natural to call in union representatives from that part of the union movement.
Can you and Garrett give us an idea of how much of a ramp up is there? How much of this is going to be a year of planning versus how quickly we can see concrete results?
I'll take that. Yeah, sure. I just say there's a ton going on right now. My general observations relative to what I had expected when I started scratching around the state is we have a ton of data about what's happening in our schools and in our training programs. It's just not connected in a way that it should be connected, and it's not reported in a way that allows people to work easily as teams. Notwithstanding that, another observation is cross-agency activity is much higher than I would have expected. So Beth talked a little bit about that. There's a lot going on. So very quickly, we're going to try to figure out what are the quick wins that we have, what are the things that we can do that are sensible. You know, inertia is our enemy, so we want to try to figure out if there's anything in place that's not getting an effective return and get rid of it. But we want to have a holistic plan where everyone can sign on and say, I'm going to own this, and it really just will take a year. That's a very complex web. So the idea is do as much as we can day to day. No one's going to stop doing the work they're doing on workforce in the meantime.
Do you anticipate making any recommendations regarding resources in time for the preparation of the next revision to the budget, the biennial budget?
So
in other words, in February, when the governor has to put forth what in essence is a new budget.
Yeah. It's hard to predict. Our board won't be certainly far enough along to have come to recommendations as a group. Whether we, as the assembling group, make recommendations at that point, I can't really say.
I know Garrett is already training programs in Eastern Connecticut, I think at the college there, to prepare for all of these jobs that are opening up,
Right.
at Electric Folk, for example. Do you intend to, from these CEOs that you're going to be meeting with, funnel that down to classrooms at these community colleges the same way? So, X company is going to need 1,000 employees over the next 5 years to do X. So you need to train them to do this. Is that the idea?
Yes. The work will be divided up by industry sectors. We've engaged in a consulting firm that's got comprehensive data about workforce supply and demand, where the folks, where the jobs, and where the people, where's the training going on. So we can match up all that supply and demand information and figure out and project. I think these folks have a history of being able to project a few years out in terms of job demand. And we'll be able to see where there's a community college that has an opportunity to ramp up, or where there's a company that needs to hurry up and do something in partnership with nonprofits because the community college is somehow otherwise occupied, that sort of thing. So just very practical analytics on supply and demand where companies, nonprofits, governments can all be seeing the same picture and making smart decisions.
Filter that down to the high schools. They used to have guidance counselors.
Yeah.
I assume they still
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That's the idea?
Yes. Commissioner Cardona just wrote me a letter this morning. You heard some of the spirit of that this morning, but they as a system are very committed to the idea of work-based learning and to shining a light on careers for high school kids so that they know what opportunities are so they can, work hard toward those goals. I think we're in a new era in terms of attitudes toward preparing young people for education, and I think you'll see that. I think the talk and the action, for example, from high schools is going to change.
Are we training people who are having a midlife crisis or
Yeah.
whatever to
Absolutely.
change?
Can we get a sense of the staff and budget that will be allocated to this effort?
Not really, frankly. I mean, there's a small, what is now the Office of Workforce Competitiveness is a handful of people, and their job is to monitor spending and report on trends to deal with compliance matters, and they are the intermediary among all the agencies that do the work. So workforce means 10 or 12 different agencies in the state. And I don't think the immediate number one priority is to add more staff at the state level. It's more to get folks in the room and organized and aligning. And people are absolutely game for that. One of the things that's been very impressive is people are like, where do you want me to go? We're ready.
With existing resources, then?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get me to make a black and white answer because I'm still, relatively early on the learning curve. We're a state with limited resources, so we've got to be smart and lean. No surprise to anybody here who's been fighting budget fights, and so that's not going to change because of this initiative. I don't think it's really about lots of extra money.
Let me say two things. I mean, one, as Garrett pointed out, a lot of this work is already going on. It's going on very ably over at DOL and some of our other agencies. What we're trying to do is work with the existing players that are out there right now, make sure we're playing all off the same playbook, where we get a little more bang for the buck that way, and make sure we have the private sector involved so we're training people for the jobs that are out there. And into Mark Pazniokas' question about, what's your time and how fast are you going? As far as I'm concerned, the answer is yes today. This is the first time in my life that I've seen this opportunity where we have tens of thousands of jobs in this state and elsewhere. We can't fill these jobs right now. And this is an amazing opportunity for a state that's been sort of stuck in an economic rut for an awful long time. And if you want to keep jobs here, you want to help companies grow and expand, this is the time to be making the investment, make sure we're training people for those jobs that are out there. And I'll say something else. It's a really unique opportunity in our lifetime, I think, to raise up young people who otherwise might not have an opportunity. This is the time because we need each and every one of these folks. We need them trained. We need them to help us grow this great economy. So I appreciate the folks from the not-for-profit sector here, making sure people get into this pipeline so we maximize this time.
Is a pilot program that Beth Bai referred to, is that sufficient given your sense of urgency when it comes to the availability, or I should say the unavailability of affordable childcare? Is this anything that you could put money into prior to a year from now when perhaps there's an overall blueprint?
I think I better talk to Beth about that. But I'll tell you one thing. You know, our workforce has changed in the last 30 years. You've got, you know, two-income parents, single parents, and child care is absolutely vital to keeping this economy going, not to mention making sure that single mom has an opportunity to work and take care of her family. So I think Beth reminds me of that about every day.
So the plan is, and just to put it in very simple terms, to have an actionable recommendations developed a year from today.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
About 6 months. Look, it was a key facet of when I ran for governor, I said how important I think this is. I'll tell you that right during the transition, as I mentioned, Garrett Moran was you know, one of our co-chairmen on the transition committee, and he and I were talking about it from day 2. And I'm really fortunate that he's here to take the lead on this. How are we doing? Is that good enough? I think we're good, yep. Hey, thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here.